Hello everyone, and welcome back to Choice to Learn. Today, I'm going to tell you a story about a woman who received a wedding invitation from the man she once loved. She had not spoken to him for 8 years. She thought she had forgotten him. She thought she had moved on. But sometimes, life has a strange way of bringing old stories back to us, not to reopen our wounds, but to finally tell us the truth. This is the story of Maya and Daniel. Maya was 27 when the invitation arrived. It was an ordinary Tuesday afternoon. She had just returned home from work and was standing in the kitchen, preparing tea, when she heard someone knock on the door. She wasn't expecting anyone. When she opened it, a delivery boy handed her a small white envelope. "Is this for Maya?" "Yes." She took the envelope and closed the door. There was something unusual about it. The envelope was thick, elegant, and carefully sealed. Maya walked to the table and sat down. She turned it over. There was one name written on the back. Daniel. Her heart stopped for a moment. She hadn't heard that name in years. Daniel had been her best friend. And later, he had become the person she loved most. Maya stared at the envelope for several seconds before opening it. Inside was a wedding invitation. Daniel and Sophie request the pleasure of your company at their wedding. Maya read it twice, then a third time. She placed the invitation on the table. For several minutes, she simply sat there. She wasn't crying. She wasn't angry. She was just confused. 8 years ago, Daniel had disappeared from her life. No explanation. No goodbye. No message. Nothing. And now, after all these years, he was getting married. Maya picked up the invitation again. The wedding was only 3 weeks away. She almost threw it into the bin. Then she noticed something written by hand at the bottom. It wasn't part of the printed invitation. It said, "Please come. There is something I need to tell you." Maya's hands became cold. She knew she shouldn't go. She knew reopening the past was probably a mistake. But there was one question she had carried inside her for 8 years. Why did Daniel leave? And perhaps this was finally her chance to find out. 8 years earlier, Maya and Daniel had been inseparable. They had met at university. At first, they were simply friends. Daniel was funny and easygoing. Maya was quiet and thoughtful. They were completely different, but somehow they understood each other. They studied together. They talked for hours. They helped each other through difficult days. And eventually, friendship became love. Neither of them officially announced it. They didn't need to. Everyone around them knew. Daniel used to tell Maya, "One day, I'm going to marry you." Maya would laugh. "You say that every week. Because you forget every week." She would smile. "Maybe I don't believe you." Daniel would look at her seriously. "Then I'll spend my whole life proving it." Those words stayed in Maya's heart. After graduation, they planned to get married. Daniel promised that he would speak to his family. Maya told her mother about him. Her mother was surprised, but she saw how happy Maya was. "Are you sure about him?" she asked. Maya smiled. "I've never been more sure about anything." Everything seemed perfect. Until one evening, Daniel called Maya. His voice sounded strange. "Maya, I need to see you." "What happened?" "Just, please come." They met at their usual cafe. Daniel was already sitting there. He looked exhausted. Maya sat across from him. "What happened?" Daniel didn't answer immediately. Finally, he said, "I have to leave." Maya stared at him. "Leave where?" "Another city." "For how long?" Daniel looked away. "I don't know." Maya laughed nervously. "Daniel, what are you talking about?" "I can't marry you." The smile disappeared from her face. "What?" "I'm sorry." "Why?" "I just can't." She waited for an explanation. But Daniel gave her nothing. "Did I do something?" "No." "Do you love someone else?" "No." "Then why?" Daniel's eyes filled with tears. But he still didn't explain. "I'm sorry, Maya." Those were the last words he said to her. The next morning, he left the city. His phone number stopped working. His social media accounts disappeared. And Maya never heard from him again. For months, she waited. Then she stopped waiting. She continued her life. She finished her studies. She found a job. She became stronger. But somewhere inside her heart, one question remained. Why? Now, 8 years later, Maya was standing in front of her mirror, getting ready for Daniel's wedding. She had almost decided not to go. But curiosity won. She wore a simple dress and drove to the wedding venue. As soon as she entered, she saw familiar faces. People she hadn't seen in years. Then she saw Daniel. He was standing near the entrance. For a moment, neither of them moved. Daniel looked older, more serious, but his eyes were exactly the same. He walked toward her. Maya. She nodded. Congratulations. Thank you. There was an uncomfortable silence. Finally, Daniel asked. You came. You asked me to. He lowered his eyes. I know. Maya looked around. Where's Sophie? She'll be here soon. Maya nodded. She wanted to leave. But Daniel stopped her. Please don't leave. Why? Because I need to explain. Maya looked at him. 8 years is a long time, Daniel. I know. You don't get to disappear for 8 years and suddenly expect me to listen. I know. Then why did you invite me? Daniel took a deep breath. Because you deserve the truth. Before Maya could answer, someone called his name. Daniel looked toward the hall. I have to go. Maya shook her head. Of course. He looked at her one last time. I'll find you after the ceremony. Maya walked away. She wasn't sure whether she wanted the truth anymore. The wedding ceremony began. Maya sat near the back. Then Sophie entered. She looked beautiful. But there was something strange about her expression. She didn't look like a woman excited about getting married. She looked worried. Daniel stood beside her. The ceremony began. But before the vows were exchanged, Sophie suddenly turned toward the guests. I'm sorry. Everyone became silent. Daniel looked shocked. Sophie took a deep breath. There is something everyone needs to know. Maya felt her heart beating faster. Sophie looked directly at her. Maya? Maya stood. Yes. Sophie walked toward her. I think you should hear this before anything happens. Daniel closed his eyes. Sophie, please. No, Daniel. She turned toward the guests. 8 years ago, Daniel didn't leave Maya because he stopped loving her. Maya froze. What? Sophie continued. He left because of me. The room became completely silent. Maya looked at Daniel. What does that mean? Daniel didn't answer. Sophie began to cry. My father was Daniel's employer. He had discovered that our company was involved in something illegal. Daniel found the evidence. Maya listened carefully. He was threatened, Sophie continued. My father told him that if he didn't leave the city, he would make sure Maya's family suffered. Maya looked at Daniel. Is this true? Daniel nodded. But why didn't you tell me? Because I was afraid. Afraid of what? That they would hurt you. Maya's voice became quieter. You could have told me. I know. You could have trusted me. I know. You could have let me decide whether I wanted to stay. Daniel looked at her. You were the most important person in my life. I thought leaving was the only way to keep you safe. Maya shook her head. No. She wiped away a tear. You didn't protect me, Daniel. He looked down. You took away my choice. Daniel didn't argue. Because she was right. Sophie stepped forward again. There is something else. Maya looked at her. Sophie took a folded letter from her bag. This was written by Daniel 8 years ago. She handed it to Maya. Maya opened it. The handwriting was unmistakable. She began reading. Maya, if you are reading this, I have already left. I know you will hate me. Maybe you should. But there are things I cannot explain right now. I want you to know that leaving you is the hardest thing I've ever done. Please don't wait for me. Build your life. Laugh again. Fall in love again if you can. I will always love you, but I don't want my love to become the reason you stop living. I'm sorry. Daniel. Maya's hands trembled. She looked at Daniel. You had this letter all these years? Yes. Then why didn't you send it? Daniel's voice broke. Because I was still afraid. Maya stared at him. 8 years. 8 years of unanswered questions. And the truth was finally standing in front of her. But something didn't feel right. She looked at Sophie. Then why are you marrying him? Sophie gave a sad smile. We aren't. Maya looked confused. What? Sophie removed the ring from her finger. This wedding was never supposed to happen. Daniel looked at Sophie. Sophie. She interrupted him. Your family has changed, Daniel. My father is gone. The people who threatened you are no longer around. She turned toward Maya. And I knew that before Daniel invited you. Maya slowly understood. This wedding. Sophie nodded. It was arranged for one reason. To bring us together? Maya asked. Yes. Maya looked at Daniel. He nodded. I wanted one chance to tell you the truth. Maya was silent. Then she asked, do you still love me? Daniel looked directly into her eyes. I never stopped. Maya looked away. 8 years ago, those words would have been everything she wanted to hear. But today, she was a different person. She had lived 8 years without him. She had built a life. She had learned how to stand on her own. And she couldn't simply erase those years. She turned to Daniel. I loved you very much. Daniel's eyes filled with tears. But I don't know if I love the person you are now. Daniel nodded slowly. I understand. Maya took a deep breath. And I don't know if you love the person I became. Daniel smiled sadly. I do. You don't know me anymore. Then let me. Maya looked at him. For the first time that day, she smiled. Not today. Daniel nodded. Not today. Maya left the wedding before the reception began. She drove home alone. The entire journey, she thought about the past. She thought about Daniel. She thought about the letter. But she also thought about herself. 8 years ago, she had been a girl who believed love meant never letting someone go. Now she understood something different. Sometimes loving someone means allowing them to make their own choices. Sometimes forgiveness doesn't mean forgetting. And sometimes the ending of a story doesn't have to be decided immediately. When Maya arrived home, she placed Daniel's letter inside her old notebook. She didn't throw it away. She didn't keep it beside her bed either. She simply put it away. Because the past deserved a place. But it didn't deserve control over her future. 3 months passed. Maya continued her life. She didn't contact Daniel. And Daniel didn't pressure her. Then one Saturday afternoon, Maya received a message. It was from him. I'm opening a small bookstore. I remembered you always wanted a quiet place where people could read and learn. If you ever want to visit, you're welcome. Maya smiled. She didn't reply immediately. She thought about it for an hour. Then she wrote, Congratulations. I'll visit someday. That was all. Nothing more. Weeks later, she finally visited the bookstore. Daniel was arranging books on a shelf. He looked up. Maya. Hi. Would you like some tea? She smiled. Yes. Maya sat quietly in the bookstore that afternoon, holding the cup of tea Daniel had made for her. For a while, neither of them spoke. There was no need to. So many things had already been said. Finally, Daniel looked at her. I know I hurt you, he said softly. And I know an apology can't give you back those 8 years. Maya looked down at her tea. No, it can't. Daniel nodded. But I'm not asking you to forget them. Maya looked at him. Then what are you asking? Daniel smiled gently. For a chance to know you again. Maya was quiet. 8 years ago, she would have said yes without thinking. But she wasn't that girl anymore. She had learned that love wasn't just about holding on. It was also about honesty, trust, and giving each other the freedom to choose. I can't promise you anything, she said. I don't need a promise. And I don't know what will happen. Neither do I. Maya smiled for the first time. Then maybe we can start with something simple. Daniel raised an eyebrow. What? Tea. He laughed. Tea? Yes. Just tea. No promises. No plans. No pretending we know what tomorrow will bring. Daniel smiled. I think I can do that. They sat together by the bookstore window as the afternoon light slowly filled the room. Outside, people walked past, cars moved along the street, and life continued as it always did. But for Maya, something had changed. She no longer felt angry about the past. She didn't need to erase it. She didn't need to pretend that 8 years had never happened. She simply accepted that some stories take unexpected turns. And sometimes, when two people meet again after years apart, they don't return to where they left off. They begin again. Slowly. Honestly. Without promises they aren't ready to make. Maya looked at Daniel and smiled. Maybe some stories don't really end. Daniel smiled back. Maybe they just wait for the right time to continue. And that afternoon, there was no wedding. No grand promise. No dramatic ending. Just two people sitting together, finally telling each other the truth. And sometimes, that is where the most beautiful stories begin. The end. Thank you so much for listening to this story. If you enjoyed it, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to Choice to Learn for more emotional stories and meaningful life lessons. And remember, sometimes the right person doesn't come back to take you into the past. They come back to meet the person you've become. See you in the next story.